Everything about our brand is about accessibility and enjoying all of your life, not just saving it for weekends or your vacation or your retirement.
While Rachael kept her public face composed, those who know John Cusimano best began to notice changes in him as well. The man who had quietly become one of the most devoted partners in the public eye, who had walked away from his own promising legal career to build their shared empire, who had turned down the spotlight for himself in order to better support the woman he loved. That man was visibly carrying something heavy. In March 2024, Cusimano had already endured a devastating personal loss when his mother passed away. He paid tribute to her on Instagram, writing, "My mom was so cool. She was a badass and a force of nature. I miss her so much." Grief had already arrived at their door before the health concerns escalated. And then, as Rachael's struggles became more visible, John found himself navigating two kinds of loss simultaneously, the one that had already happened and the one he was terrified might be approaching. Those close to the couple knew that John and Rachael are not people who suffer quietly. They had acknowledged openly that they have huge, screaming matches all the time, with Rachael insisting on her podcast that she found such emotional honesty healthy. But the silence that seemed to settle over John as Rachael's health concerns deepened was a different kind of quiet. Not the silence of someone holding back anger, but the silence of someone holding back fear. An insider later told Closer Weekly that friends had started to worry about Rachael's well-being and that the couple, who spend enormous amounts of time together, had been getting on each other's nerves, both bull-headed, as the source put it, prone to arguing at the top of their lungs. But there is a profound difference between a couple who fights passionately because they care deeply and a couple drifting apart. Anyone who looked closely at John's public appearances alongside Rachael during this period could see the latter was not the case. He was not withdrawing. He was drawing closer, holding on in the way that people do when they are afraid of what letting go might mean. Rachael Ray has always been someone who refuses to be undone. Her life story is, in many ways, a masterclass in resilience. Long before the television cameras and the cookbook deals and the magazine covers, there were muggings in Queens, an escape back to her hometown, and a career built almost entirely from scratch through sheer force of will and love of food. In 1997, while living in Queens and working in Manhattan, she was attacked and mugged twice by the same individual in the same week. She maced her attacker the first time. The second time, she was not so fortunate. The trauma sent her back to upstate New York, and it was there, working at the Sagamore Resort, running cooking classes for people who found the kitchen intimidating, that she found the path that would change everything. Her vocal cords have been a source of struggle for much of her life. As she told people in 2006, "I lose my voice a lot. I had a lot of croup as a kid, so I don't have the strongest vocal cords to begin with." In 2008, she had to undergo surgery to remove a benign cyst on her vocal cords, a procedure that her representative confirmed was routine and minimally disruptive to her schedule, though the rumors swirling around at the time had been far more frightening, including tabloid claims of throat cancer that proved entirely false. She had survived all of it: the trauma, the surgeries, the fires, the floods, the rumors, the grief. Each time, Rachael Ray emerged not diminished, but somehow more herself, more certain of what mattered, more grateful for the life she had built, more devoted to the people she loved. As the health concerns mounted through late 2024 and into 2025, Rachael and John made a quiet choice. They retreated. She has spoken in recent months about balancing life between her homes in upstate New York and Italy, focusing on recovery and taking care of herself. The lake house in New York, which Rachael has long called her sanctuary, became their haven, a place removed from the cameras and the commentary, where the rhythms of daily life could provide some comfort and stability. When asked about the secret to their marriage during a recent interview with People, Rachael offered a characteristically candid answer. Take life very seriously. Don't take yourself seriously. Have a sense of humor. And if you're pissed off about something, say it. Get it out of your system, and then shut up and never say it again. She went further, describing the texture of their daily life together. We're very simple. He can work alone all day in his studio. I can work alone all day in the kitchen or on my computer. We can both be alone, but we're never alone together. We forgive each other. We like each other, and we tolerate each other. And that's really it. There is something quietly profound in those words, particularly now. We forgive each other. We like each other. We tolerate each other. They are not the words of a couple coasting on romance. They are the words of two people who have genuinely chosen each other, over and over, through every version of themselves and every difficulty the world has sent their way. In June 2025, Rachael made one of her more visible public appearances, attending the North Shore Animal League America's celebration of rescue in New York City alongside John. They walked the carpet together, held puppies available for adoption, and showed up for the causes they have always championed. To those watching, it was a striking image, a couple who had been through so much still standing side by side, still showing up, still smiling. By October 2025, Rachael was pushing back firmly against the narrative that she had somehow disappeared or faded away. "I don't know what they're talking about," she said in a Page 6 interview. "I worked my butt off all the time, and I never left. I just switched over to A+E and new partners. That's all." It was vintage Rachael, defiant, direct, refusing to let anyone write her off or write her out her own story. For more than 2 decades, Rachael Ray has been one of the most recognizable and beloved faces in American television. Her warm laugh, her infectious energy, and her signature promise that a delicious meal could be on your table in just 30 minutes made her feel less like a celebrity and more like a trusted friend. Generations of families across America grew up watching her in their kitchens, absorbing not just her recipes, but her philosophy, that life, no matter how complicated, could always be made a little better with good food and genuine heart. To millions, she was not simply a chef. She was comfort itself. But the story behind that smile has always been more complicated than what appeared on screen. Rachael Ray's life has been shaped by hardship, resilience, tragedy, and an unwavering refusal to be defined by any of it. And now, in what many fans are calling the most heartbreaking chapter of her life, the woman who spent decades nourishing the world is facing a deeply personal struggle that has left those closest to her quietly preparing for the unthinkable. Her husband, John Cusimano, her rock, her partner, her most devoted supporter, has been navigating a pain that no amount of love can fully shield against. The story of how they arrived at this moment is one of devotion tested to its very limits. Rachael and John's love story began the way the best ones do, unexpectedly at a party, surrounded by other people, in a crowded room that somehow felt smaller the moment they found each other. They met in 2001 through a mutual friend in New York City. According to Ray, the friend had been trying to set them up for about a year before they actually crossed paths in person. When the moment finally came, something clicked immediately. As Ray later described it, "We crossed a crowded room and started talking, and we have talked every day since the night we met." After 4 years of dating, the couple married on September 24th, 2005, in one of the most romantic settings imaginable. They tied the knot at the Castello di Vallona in Montalcino, Tuscany, Italy, a venue that would become deeply symbolic for them both. To celebrate their 10th anniversary, they returned to that same Tuscan castle in 2015 to renew their vows, with popular celebrity chefs like Guy Fieri and Burrell among the guests. It was a declaration not just of love renewed, but of a partnership that had proven itself through the storms that life had already thrown their way. John Cusimano is a man of remarkable range. He is an entertainment lawyer who moonlights as the lead singer of the rock band The Cringe. In a 2020 interview, Cusimano described how his life changed after meeting Rachael. "I used to practice in New York City as an entertainment lawyer, primarily in film. Then I met this one, and now I only have one client, and her name is Rachael Ray. So I just work on our businesses all the time." Rachael, never one to miss a punchline, responded with characteristic humor. "Smartest thing I ever did was marry an entertainment lawyer. Save me a bundle." Behind the humor was a genuine truth. John did not simply stand beside Rachael as a supportive spouse. He became her business partner, her legal counsel, her creative collaborator, and her closest confidant. As Rachael herself put it, "I love my husband John, and John works with me and has built our business and our brand together." Their lives, professional and personal, have become beautifully, inextricably intertwined. No marriage travels 20 years without weathering genuine crisis, and Rachel and John have faced more than most. In 2020, their upstate New York home caught fire, and the couple watched helplessly as 15 years of memories burned. Rachel described the devastation with heartbreaking clarity, speaking about notebooks, drawings, and the recorded thoughts of a lifetime lost to the flames. She shared on her talk show that the fire began when an ember from the chimney landed on the roof, and that while no one was harmed, a year of rebuilding lay ahead. Yet even that tragedy revealed the depth of what they had built together. Rachel later spoke to People about surviving the ordeal. "We have volatile personalities, but we're both very practical too. That's the lawyer's side of him and the domestic side of me. We're like, these are the things that must be accomplished today. And we will get to this only by doing what work is necessary." Crisis, it seemed, had always drawn them closer rather than apart. The fire was not their only trial that year. Just over a year later, their New York City apartment suffered extreme flood damage after Hurricane Ida, with Rachel describing the destruction as if the apartment just literally melted. Through flood and fire, through rumor and relentless public scrutiny, Rachel and John had always emerged together, their bond quietly strengthened by every hardship they had endured side by side. Then came September 2024, and a moment that sent shockwaves through Rachael Ray's devoted fan community. A video she posted to Instagram had viewers alarmed. She appeared to be slurring her speech, and her mouth moved unusually. The clip spread rapidly across social media. Fans who had watched her for 20 years recognized immediately that something seemed different. Many came to her defense, dismissing concerns as overreaction. But others, those who had paid close attention over the years, were harder to reassure. Worry mounted over her well-being as more people weighed in on the video, and it placed a spotlight on the star that she had not sought. For a woman who had always projected unstoppable energy, who had laughed through every obstacle and cooked through every crisis, the images were jarring in a way that was difficult to articulate but impossible to ignore. Then, on October 22nd, 2024, Rachel launched her new podcast, I'll Sleep When I'm Dead, and offered the public its first real glimpse into what had been happening behind closed doors. The longtime Food Network favorite sounded articulate and in good spirits, but she opened up about something that had been quietly derailing her life. She had suffered from a couple of bad falls in recent weeks. She spoke warmly about her home life with John in Lake Luzerne, New York, describing herself as a homemaker who loves chores, loves being in the kitchen, and loves physical work. But the falls had forced even those beloved routines to pause. She avoided specifics. That was typical of Rachel, always projecting warmth, always protecting those around her, always giving the world just enough to feel reassured while keeping the harder truths close to her chest. But her fans, who know her well enough to read the spaces between the words, were not entirely comforted. And John? In September 2025, as they approached their 20th wedding anniversary, Cusimano paid tribute to his wife on Instagram, writing, "My forever love and forever home, wherever we may be." It was a small gesture, the kind that passes without ceremony in the flood of social media, but it said everything. Not a performance of devotion for public consumption, but the quiet expression of a man who has spent 20 years building a life with someone and is not remotely finished. When we talk about John Cusimano saying goodbye, we must be careful about what we mean. This is not the goodbye of defeat or of abandonment. It is the goodbye of a man who has looked clearly at uncertainty and chosen, with full awareness, to stay and hold on, to stay and to say again and again, in 1,000 small ways, that this woman, this remarkable, infuriating, brilliant, resilient, deeply human woman, is worth every hard moment, every sleepless night, every quiet fear. Rachael Ray has given the world 30-minute meals and pet food brands and lifestyle magazines and 2 decades of contagious joy. She has survived muggings and fires and floods and rumors and surgeries and grief. She has built an empire from a cooking class in upstate New York and never once lost sight of why she started. And through all of it, John Cusimano has been there. Not in the spotlight, not chasing his own fame, but present, steadily, devotedly, fundamentally present. If he is saying goodbye to anything, it is to the illusion that any of us gets to hold the people we love without the shadow of loss falling somewhere nearby. That shadow is real, but so is the love that casts it. The love story of Rachael Ray and John Cusimano is not a tragedy. It is a testament to what two imperfect, passionate, loud, dedicated people can build when they choose each other not once, but every day, in